Most people grow up believing a simple formula about money. Study hard, get a good job, earn a higher salary, and eventually you will become rich. It sounds logical. The more you earn, the richer you should become. But if this formula were truly correct, then every highly paid professional would eventually be wealthy. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, and executives earning six figures would all be financially free. Yet in reality, many of them are not. Many high earners still live paycheck to paycheck. Many feel constant financial pressure despite earning more than they ever imagined earlier in their lives. This strange contradiction reveals an important truth that most people discover too late. Earning money and building wealth are two very different things. The confusion starts with how people define financial success. Income and wealth are often treated as if they mean the same thing, but they are not the same at all. Income is the money that flows into your life from work. Wealth, on the other hand, is the money and assets that continue to grow even when you stop working. A person earning a high salary may have strong income, but if they spend everything they earn, their wealth remains close to zero. Meanwhile, someone earning less but consistently investing and building assets may quietly become financially independent over time. This difference explains why two people with similar salaries can end up living completely different financial lives 20 years later. A salary feels powerful because it arrives regularly. Every month, the paycheck comes in, and that consistency creates a sense of security. People feel they are progressing because their income slowly increases with promotions and experience. But beneath that feeling of progress lies a system that has several built-in limits. The first and most obvious limit is time. When your income depends on a salary, you are essentially trading hours of your life for money. The number of hours in a day is fixed. Even if you work harder, the total amount of time you can exchange for income has a ceiling. At some point, your energy, health, and responsibilities place limits on how much you can work. Because of this, salary income behaves like a treadmill. You can run faster by working longer hours or chasing promotions, but the structure itself does not change. Your income remains directly tied to the time you invest. If you stop working, the income stops as well. This is why many professionals eventually feel trapped. They may earn good money, but they cannot step away from their work without sacrificing the income that supports their lifestyle. Taxes create another hidden disadvantage for salaried workers. Employees are usually taxed before they even receive their income. Their employer pays them, the government takes its share immediately, and whatever remains becomes their usable money. Investors and business owners often operate under a different structure. They may deduct expenses, reinvest profits, or structure their earnings in ways that allow their money to grow before taxes significantly reduce it. Over decades, this difference can compound into a substantial advantage for those who own assets rather than relying entirely on wages. But perhaps the most dangerous trap connected to salaries is psychological rather than structural. It is something economists call lifestyle inflation. When income rises, people tend to increase their spending at the same time. A new job leads to a better apartment. A raise leads to a nicer car. A promotion justifies more expensive vacations, subscriptions, or daily conveniences. Each upgrade seems small and reasonable, and often it feels like a reward for hard work. However, these changes slowly raise the cost of maintaining a person's lifestyle. The higher salary that once felt like progress becomes necessary simply to support the new standard of living. This cycle is why many people feel financially stuck even as their earnings grow. Every increase in income brings a matching increase in expenses. Instead of creating freedom, the higher income strengthens the dependency on the next paycheck. People become locked into the system they were hoping would liberate them. They work harder and earn more, but their financial situation does not fundamentally change. The key difference between those who remain stuck in this cycle and those who eventually become wealthy is ownership. Wealth is rarely built through income alone. Instead, it is built through owning assets that grow over time. Assets are things that produce value and income even when you are not actively working. Stocks represent ownership in companies that generate profits. Real estate can produce rental income and appreciate in value. Businesses create products or services that customers continue to buy. Digital assets such as courses, software, or intellectual property can produce income repeatedly without requiring constant effort. Ownership changes the financial equation because it separates income from time. When you own an asset, the asset itself begins producing results. A company generates profits. A rental property generates rent. A stock portfolio produces dividends and long-term appreciation. Instead of depending entirely on your own labor, your money and investments begin working alongside inside you. Over time, this shift becomes incredibly powerful. One of the most important forces behind wealth creation is compounding. Compounding occurs when the returns from an investment begin generating additional returns. Imagine investing money that earns a modest annual return. In the beginning, the growth appears slow and almost unnoticeable, but over the years, those gains begin to accumulate. The investment starts generating income, and that income begins generating even more income. Eventually, the growth curve becomes exponential rather than linear. This is why long-term investors often describe the first milestone as the hardest. The early years require patience because the progress seems small. However, once investments reach a certain size, the compounding effect accelerates dramatically. At that stage, the system no longer depends entirely on how much effort the person contributes. It begins to rely on the mathematical power of compounding itself. Another advantage that assets provide is scalability. A salary typically grows in proportion to an individual's time and effort, but scalable systems can grow far beyond what one person could accomplish alone. For example, someone might create a digital product, an online course, a book, or a piece of software. Once created, that product can reach thousands or even millions of people. The creator does not need to trade hours for every sale. The system continues delivering value while the creator focuses on improving or expanding it. This principle explains why many entrepreneurs and investors focus on building systems rather than simply increasing income. Systems have the potential to expand without the same limitations that restrict salaried work. Over time, a single successful system can produce income streams that exceed what a traditional job could provide. None of this means that a salary is useless or unimportant. In fact, a salary can be one of the most valuable tools available to someone beginning their financial journey. The key difference lies in how that income is used. If every dollar earned is consumed by lifestyle expenses, the salary becomes a cycle that repeats indefinitely. But if a portion of that income is consistently invested into assets, the salary transforms into a funding source for future wealth. A practical way to approach this is by creating a balanced structure for managing income. Many financial planners suggest frameworks that divide earnings into clear categories. One example is allocating a portion of income for living expenses, another portion for savings and investing, and a smaller portion for discretionary enjoyment. This approach ensures that life remains enjoyable while still allowing long-term financial progress to occur. Consistency plays a more important role than size when it comes to investing. Waiting for the perfect moment or a large amount of capital often leads to delay. Regular contributions, even small ones, allow compounding to begin earlier. Over decades, those contributions can grow into significant wealth. Time is the most valuable ally in this process because compounding becomes stronger the longer it is allowed to operate. Building assets does not always require starting a large company or making complex investments. It can begin with simple steps. Purchasing shares of strong businesses through long-term investing strategies allows individuals to participate in the growth of companies around the world. Developing valuable skills can open opportunities to create digital products or services that generate income repeatedly. Real estate investments can gradually produce rental income and appreciation. Each asset becomes another small engine producing financial output. As these engines multiply, dependence on a single salary begins to fade. Income no longer relies entirely on one employer or one job. Instead, multiple sources begin contributing to financial stability. This diversification creates resilience because the loss of one income stream does not destroy the entire system. Ultimately, the goal is not to abandon work completely or to view salaries as negative. The real objective is to transform the role that a salary plays in a person's life. Instead of being the final destination, it becomes the starting fuel for building something larger. The paycheck funds investments, supports skill development, and allows opportunities to accumulate assets that grow over time. When this shift happens, the financial journey begins to look very different. Instead of chasing the next raise as the primary path to wealth, the focus moves toward building ownership and long-term systems. Income still matters, but it is no longer the only driver of progress. Over time, the difference becomes visible. A person relying entirely on a salary may continue running faster on the financial treadmill, working harder each year while their lifestyle absorbs the additional income. Meanwhile, someone quietly investing in building assets may experience slower progress at first, but their financial snowball begins rolling. Eventually, the momentum created by compounding and ownership allows them to move ahead without increasing their working hours. This This is why the statement that a salary alone rarely makes someone rich is not meant to discourage ambition or hard work. Instead, it highlights the importance of understanding how wealth actually forms. Wealth grows through assets, compounding, and ownership. A salary can help begin that process, but it is rarely the mechanism that completes it. In the end, the most powerful financial realization is simple. Your salary is a tool, not the destination. It is the fuel that allows you to build something greater. When used wisely, it can fund investments, create opportunities, and gradually buy back your time. As assets grow and systems begin working independently, financial freedom stops feeling like a distant dream and begins to look like an achievable outcome. The hamster wheel slows down, the snowball begins to grow, and the path toward true wealth finally becomes visible.